Canadian income investors can lock in higher monthly cash flow by targeting REITs, raising distributions, while the Fed keeps September hike odds at 56.7%. This is Modern Investing Techniques, episode 131. Quick reminder, everything we discuss here is for education and entertainment. The practice investment of the day uses simulated trades with no real money. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. Always do your own research before putting real money to work. Markets closed higher with the S&P 500 at 7,758, up 0.6%. The Nasdaq Composite finished at 26,691, up 1.3%. The TSX Composite rose 0.7% to 36,381. Sentiment stayed constructive on resilient wage data and tech leadership, even as the TSX sat closed for the civic holiday. The nearest central bank decision sits with the Fed's September meeting, where CME FedWatch shows a 56.7% probability of a hike. Remember, we covered EPD 14 days ago as a dividend compounding midstream entry. That position closed down 1.45% and reminded us that energy names need volume confirmation before sizing up. The rate cycle backdrop continues to shape how income vehicles and growth names reprice together. Comparing put yields only makes sense once probability of assignment is equalized across strikes. Today's options flow shows how a higher yield put can deliver more income without changing the statistical odds of being exercised, provided the underlying price and expiration stay identical. Canadian investors can apply this by scanning the options chain on a TFSA eligible name, filtering for the same delta across expirations, then ranking the remaining contracts by yield. The approach works best in range-bound or mildly bullish regimes where assignment risk stays low and premium collection compounds inside tax-advantaged accounts. Risks include early assignment on dividends and the need for sufficient margin or cash to secure the put. Platforms such as Interactive Brokers or Questrade let users pull the full chain and export yields directly into a spreadsheet for ranking. In practice, this means two short put positions with identical deltas on the same stock and same expiration can be compared solely on the credit received, turning yield into the decisive metric once probability is neutralized. The method avoids the common error of chasing headline yield that actually reflects higher assignment odds on lower price strikes. This setup isolates how a single earnings catalyst can be quantified against guidance changes and then sized inside a tax-advantaged account. Our practice investment of the day is a simulated weekly hold on TBBK, Bancorp, listed on the Nasdaq in the financial sector. The strategy is an earnings-driven entry on record profitability and raised guidance in fintech lending. The hold runs Monday through Friday. The catalyst is Q2 2026 EPS that rose 14.2%, with fintech lending driving record profitability and management lifting full-year guidance. The technical setup shows the stock traded above its 50-day moving average on elevated volume after the print, with nearest support near the prior week's close. We set an 8% stop below entry to cap loss if lending growth slows or macro data weakens. The target is plus 4% to plus 8% over the 5-day window if guidance momentum holds. This is a medium confidence setup because the strong earnings beat and guidance lift align, yet sector rotation into financials remains unconfirmed by volume. The 5-day hold window forces discipline around the initial catalyst rather than allowing drift into longer-term narratives. This is a simulated trade for learning purposes only. No newly closed trade since the last review. The most recent practice investment has already been reviewed. Current holdings remain open and pending their scheduled evaluation, so there is no new realized result to report today. The Fidelity in the Money Options Series video breaks down current tech rally drivers and delivers 2 fresh semiconductor trade ideas with explicit entry levels and risk parameters. Intermediate investors gain a repeatable template for translating sector narrative into option structures they can execute commission-free inside a TFSA. The format includes live discussion of shifting AI narratives and concrete examples of how to structure trades around those themes without requiring paid subscriptions. Unusual Whales Options Flow Dashboard surfaces real-time options sweep data that highlights unusual block trades across equities and ETFs, allowing users to filter by size, expiration, and unusual activity. Canadian traders can use the free tier to spot institutional positioning ahead of earnings or policy events, and then cross-check against their own watch lists. Premium unlocks full historical flow and alerts. The platform surfaces block trades that exceed normal size thresholds, giving retail users visibility into activity that often precedes price moves in the underlying securities. Japan raised a pro-war video using Wii Sports during parliamentary discussions, illustrating how cultural IP can surface in trade negotiations. The issue was raised in April and referenced Nintendo properties alongside other popular franchises in the context of broader bilateral talks. Hold any Nintendo exposure and add a 5% geopolitical premium buffer to position size until talks conclude. The White House is restarting removal proceedings tied to mortgage fraud allegations against Fed Governor Lisa Cook, keeping Fed independence in focus for rate path pricing. The process now follows the framework the Supreme Court indicated should have been provided earlier, allowing Cook to respond to the unproven claims. Keep duration short in bond ETFs and wait for the next FOMC minutes before extending fixed income exposure. Stingray will release Q1 fiscal 2027 results on August 10th before the open and host a call at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The release covers the quarter ended June 30th, 2026, and management will field questions the same morning. Add ray.to to the watch list and review the transcript for distribution coverage before considering any new TFSA allocation. L'Amico Metals shareholders approved the plan to be acquired at 13 Canadian cents per share, with additional support announced for the Yellow Fox project financing. The transaction involves Global Battery Materials acquiring all outstanding shares through a court-approved plan of arrangement, subject to standard closing conditions. Trim any remaining LMR.V exposure ahead of closing to avoid post-arrangement volatility. Total trades stand at 45 with a win rate of 53%, 24 wins, 20 losses, and 1 break-even. Cumulative simulated P and L comes to $246.82. Matched window alpha versus the Nasdaq sits at plus 2.3% across 40 benchmarked trades. The sum of per trade alpha on a simple additive tally reaches plus 7.7%. Average return per trade is plus 0.55%. The best trade delivered plus 20.11%, while the worst came in at minus 11.80%. The current streak is 1 win. Prediction markets aggregate crowdsourced probabilities in real time, turning every contract into a live poll that can front-run traditional analyst models by days or weeks. When DraftKings or Flutter report, the volume and pricing on their own event contracts often explain post-earnings moves better than revenue beats alone. The pro insight is to cross-reference open interest in those contracts against the company's own guidance before assuming the earnings number tells the full story. Most retail investors treat the earnings release as the sole catalyst and miss that the market had already repriced the name through the prediction contracts days earlier. Check the contract prices on Polymarket or Predict It the evening before results and compare them to consensus estimates. Any material gap signals where the real surprise may land. The mechanism works because traders with superior information or faster models place capital directly into the contracts rather than waiting for the quarterly filing, creating an observable price signal that traditional earnings models overlook. Over multiple quarters, this creates a measurable lead time where contract prices shift ahead of both revenue figures and analyst revisions. Retail investors who skip this step often enter positions after the market has already adjusted, reducing the edge available from the earnings catalyst itself. Open your brokerage platform, pull the options chain for one TSX listed name you already own, and rank the 30-day puts by yield after filtering for identical delta. Note the top 3 annualized yields and decide whether any fit your income target inside the TFSA. Tomorrow I will check how the TBBK simulated hold is tracking against its 8% stop and 4 to 8% target. That's modern investing techniques for today. If you found this useful, share it with a fellow investor and subscribe wherever you listen. Check the resources page for tools and platforms we discussed. We're back tomorrow. Keep learning, keep investing, and if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nera Network. Links in the show notes. This show comes to you from the Nera Network. If you want another sharp daily briefing, Unintended Consequences has you covered. True stories of good intentions that backfired. All our shows are free at neranetwork.com. New to the network? neranetwork.com. Start Here picks the right daily briefing for you in about 2 minutes. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.
Do you ever wonder where we go after this? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous? Do you ever stay awake, counting sheep like all the time? What's your life like? What's your purpose? When's your birthday? What's your sign? Are you down right now? Are you stuck up in the past? Are you still thinking about all the times that you didn't laugh?